and welcome to Rajawat Television. You're watching The Big Picture with me, Frank Pereira. Well, buoyed by its landslide win in the recent Uttar Pradesh Assembly elections, the Narendra Modi government has decided to fast-track the implementation of the direct benefit transfer system for payment of fertilizer subsidy to farmers. From the coming Kharif season beginning June, the 70,000 crore rupees fertilizer subsidy budgeted for 2017-18 will be disbursed to companies based on actual sales to farmers captured on point-of-sale machines installed at nearly 2 lakh retail points across India. This would be a significant change from the current system where firms are paid the subsidy on receipt of their fertilizer at the railhead point or any approved go-down of a district. Prior to this, till October 2012, they were getting the subsidy on dispatch of material from their respective factories. On this edition of The Big Picture, we'll analyze the scope, the problems and the challenges of the fertilizer subsidy reforms. Joining me on the program today are Yatish Rajawat, Senior Journalist, of course he's a policy analyst as well, Krishan Chaudhary, President Bhartiya, Krishak, Samaj, and Anurag Sharma, Senior Journalist. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining me on this edition of The Big Picture. Yatish, I'd like to start with you, of course. What has prompted this fertilizer subsidy reforms, and was it much overdue?
It was much overdue, and first step in the direct benefit transfer. At this point in time, they've not calculated that how much each farmer will actually require. Therefore, they cannot apportion the subsidy directly to the farmer. What they're trying to do in this step is basically control the leakage of the subsidy, which happens because the sale does not happen always to the farmer. Sometimes it happens to plywood manufacturers or other manufacturing companies which are using urea as a byproduct in their processes. So this is supposed to prevent that. Now, if you remember, going back to the demonetization period, fertilizer companies at that point in time were asked very specifically to create POS at their end, because they were saying that fertilizers have to be distributed, and they became a challenge at that point in time. So they were asked to install these POS machines, and some of them did. Now with this second step, they're actually doing two things. One, leakage prevention. Second, they're also making the transactions digital in that sense between the farmer and the fertilizer company. This will also allow them to possibly see where the consumption is happening. There was a leakage which was also happening to neighboring countries like Bangladesh and Nepal.
Yes.
So now the sale happens here in India, but the product is transferred to Bangladesh and Nepal. Hopefully with this, some amount of that would be curtailed, not everything would be curtailed. They will also be able to track that are some farmers buying in excess of what they require. See, there are two states which are the largest consumer of fertilizers, Uttar Pradesh and Punjab. And both of them went to election just a month back. So this was in the offing for a long time. And they have, after now the election and the government has been sworn in there, they've implemented it now.
Sure. Krishan Chaudhary, as far as digitization is concerned, this whole platform now is going to work on digitization. Has that happened already, or is that in the process? Are all the farmers going to get the benefit out of this?
It's under process. But direct benefit transfer will stop the leakage. Especially, I agree that how the my friend detailing the things, there's a heavy leakage. And if we discuss about a decade before, urea was going in washing powder in different industrial sector. In the name of farming community, subsidy government always try to help the farming community, not this other sectors. Therefore, the leakage will stop, we hope, and we are asking from last many years that it should be direct benefit transfer should be done, because farmers should get the complete benefit. And one thing I hope that in future, farmer will get the more benefit.
Sure. Sure. Anurag Sharma, as far as this particular direct cash transfer scheme itself is concerned, a pilot project was run in 17 districts across the country. What have been the results of those, that pilot project? Has it been successful thus far?
Yes, we can say that it has been pretty successful. But I think the issue is farmers will get the subsidy, farmers will get the benefit of this thing. But I think in terms of fertilizer subsidy, it's okay. But if you think of ecological farming, the way farming should be done, the way government is promoting it, it's a totally different scenario. Like, according to what scientists say and what is happening in agriculture, that it has become a game of only 3 chemicals: NPK, nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium. But a plant require at least 17 elements for their growth. Government is saying that they are promoting organic farming, but in this case subsidy is given to chemical fertilizer, and there is huge discrepancies among the usage of fertilizer. Like, if we think of NPK only, forget about other 14 elements, the ratio should be 4:2:1. In Punjab, the ratio is 61:19:1. Urea is cheap to purchase, so farmers are using more urea. That is creating imbalance, and yield is either going down or it is stagnant. So, issue is not whether farmer will get the benefit, direct subsidy, it will get cash or not. The issue is whether this whole policy is going to benefit the agriculture system in India or not.
Indeed, that's a very valid point that you're raising, and that's the point that I'd like to take forward as well. Yatish, Rajawat, is that what's happening? Are we running down the soil to such an extent that soon is going to be, unusable?
If you remember, a couple of years back, CSC had done this study around milk, and they found the presence of both fertilizer and pesticides in milk. Now that means that it has not only crept into the human body, it has also gone into animal body, and it is now being fed to us in a derivative form in milk itself. So the percolation and the overusage of fertilizer is actually a bigger challenge than just the subsidy or the amount of the subsidy. The government has been saying now for the last 2.5 years, that they want to promote organic farming, they want to make farmers use more of organic fertilizers. But the issue is that who will produce them? Who will distribute them? They expect that it would be done at a micro level and the farmer himself would be able to do it, but that has not happened till date. It is much easier and simpler for him to buy a DAP and spread it in the field, rather than going through the tedious process of producing that organic manure. So, the Prime Minister keeps saying that, this also involves a behavioral change at the farmer's end. And it has to be done, because the soils are getting eroded completely. If you see Punjab and Western UP, the yield is actually continuously falling for the last 10 years. And higher usage of water and higher usage of fertilizer is not giving even the same yield as it would as the farm would give 5 years back. So it's a serious issue. So, and I hope that they come up with possibly a direct cash benefit transfer for farmers who are using organic manure.
Indeed. And yes, Anurag, you wanted to make a point.
Actually, see what Yatish was saying. In 1950, with the use of 1 kg of NPK, the yield was around, say, 3 kg. Now, with the use of 10 kg of NPK, you are getting less. So, it has been proved by many research, and ICR has given a report on Indian Council of Agriculture Research. So, this is happening. We have to improve the organic content of our soil. That can only be done through organic farming or compost. But here is another issue. Very interestingly, there was a very interesting article today in the newspaper. Government is selling compost at 5 rupees 60 paisa, same rate for urea. So why farmer will purchase compost when they are getting urea or NPK and other fertilizer on the same rate? See, it is very important that farmers should produce fertilizer in their field.
Yes.
And very important that a farming system should be there. Cropping pattern, what we call it, it has to be there. When for one crop, do the needful for other crop. That is very important. And some farmers, or should I say, large number of farmers are doing this. I've been to Bulandshahr and I've seen there was one farmer who started this, we can say, organic campaign. It's a mixed farming system which he started. He has not been for past I think 7 years, he has not used even a single organic fertilizer even in his farm, because of the pattern he is using, the crop rotation he is using.
Sure.
And from 10 acres now he has got around 70 or 80 acres of land under his farming system. So I think that's the thing that is happening and that need to be promoted.
Sure.
And it's very important, instead of giving subsidies to these chemical fertilizer, if farmer is doing organic farming, then he should be
At the end of the
encouraged
day,
for
you
that.
know, see, all this subsidy and all, where is it finally going? It is creating a fertilizer industrial structure. So it is basically going to help these companies sustain their business. You are helping these companies sustain the business, but you are destroying the farmer's business.
Sure.
Because his yield will continue to go down, his return on his per acre will continue to go down, because his inputs will keep on growing. And as Anurag pointed out that, you know, earlier he was using 3 kgs, now he is using 10 kgs. He is also using more pesticides. So his input costs are continuously growing. Now, which means that there is a fear that the system which the farmer has created is broken at this point in time.
And the end product too is filled with chemicals, and we are
Exactly. It's
consuming.
not safe for
it's
human
not
con-
safe for human
consumption,
consumption. Yes, Krishan Chaudhary, you know, we spoke about how organic farming is being conducted at a micro level. In my home state of Karnataka too, I've seen several farmers doing this, and you know, doing a successful job at it. Why is it that, you know, it's not spreading to other farmers? Why is it that the other farmers are not doing something like this? Is it because of lack of knowledge? Is it because of lack of support? What is the problem?
Lack in the policy system. Yes, I agree that money should be given as a support to every farmer to increase the fertilization of soil. Yes, it's an accepted fact that there's a lot of micronutrient deficiency have occurred due to this chemical science model. And still our policy makers is not going to accept the reality. Farmer knows the fact that the green manuring and compost are giving the better result.
So the
And
farmer is aware of it.
yes, it's aware of it in every state. In every state. You can say that every farmer now accepts that due to chemical fertilization, yield can't increase. And more irrigation water needs all crops everywhere in chemical fertilization system. But if we go ahead for compost or green manuring mix, then there is a less need of irrigation and productivity is increasing gradually in every crop. Yes, as per the rotation of the different crops. If we go for the pulses, then reserve nitrogen is already in excess in soil is there. It can be used in other crops. It should be. But farmer needs, every farmer needs this support. It should, you can say that it's a support from government side to increase the fertilization in soil. Every farmer should get that money. Not only on chemical fertilization, it should not be reserved only for urea or NPK. This subsidy money should be given to every farmer in the country.
Yes, and organic farmers too should have some kind of.
I say all.
You know,
on the land holding.
The government had a policy where they would promote the use of electric cars. For instance, you know, some kind of a subsidy was given there. So why shouldn't a subsidy be given to someone who's indulging indulging in organic farming? I mean,
More support to be given to the organic farmer.
Sure,
because that's good for the health and good for the environment, good for the ecology. And yeah, government always discuss that we are going to increase in 1 lakh villages organic farming should be increased, and we are promoting this. But the actual support should be given direct to the farmers in their accounts. And he should be advised by all Krishi Vigyan Kendra, by all our scientists, that go for compost. It's better for future.
Indeed.
Coming generation.
Is that what's happening, Yatish? I mean, is that what the government is moving towards? Is that something that we can see in the near future?
I don't think so. I mean, I don't think so. At least the bureaucracy, I wouldn't say the government, but the system which runs the government, which is the bureaucracy, which is still composed of people who actually don't fully understand how the farmer works. And I don't think so they've understood the fact that they need to delink the subsidy from fertilizer. They need to link the subsidy to productivity. When you link it to productivity, you remove the fertilizer companies from the game. You focus that if a farmer has been able to improve his productivity using organic manure or organic compost of any kind, or he should be given that subsidy, or he should be given that cash transfer. Now, that would be a policy. It would be much larger policy. It will
Yes.
not be focused on taking it from government coffers and giving it to fertilizer company. It would be taking from government coffers and giving it to the farmer to help him increase his productivity. So, you know, this is supposed to be a change in the way that the government has to start thinking about.
Behavior change in government is required rather than
Yes.
There is a difference between the corporate, especially between the corporate and the bureaucracy.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to come
And
to.
that should be big.
yes.
Yeah, that's what I
It's a
wanted to
time
come
to
to.
make that.
This year target-
That's what I wanted to come to. Are the fertilizer companies going to allow this?
They have no choice. I think they will allow this, but there are more issues. See, when we talk of organic farming, we limit ourselves to dung only, dung. I think it's better to call it a ecological farming rather than calling just organic farming. And yes, corporates won't allow this. They are here to earn profit, and farming is a very profitable business for companies, not for the farmers. And we can see, if you just increase the irrigation, your 50-55% of land is not irrigated. So if you increase the 55% of land, if you bring it under irrigation, then it is sure to increase your production. You will get the double of your production. Fertilizer is required, but scientists mostly they say that we can't shift to organic so soon. It will take time. Last 20-30 years this has been happening.
They've been saying this.
They say that productivity immediately will go down.
There is
And that's not the reality. If you visit our field, then in first year we reduce the 35% in chemical fertilization. Then second year again we reduce the 35%. In third year we remove 100%. It's a chemical free in 3 years.
Very interesting example to you.
And productivity in first year it will not increase. In second year it increased by 5%. Then in third year completion, after removing the complete chemical fertilization, then you will get the result about 10% productivity in all crops in my field.
Sure.
And when I raised this issue that only the compost and green manuring is the way to increase the productivity, chemical fertilization, due to chemical fertilization there is stagnation in productivity. Yes, I agree that this money should be given as a support. It should be linked with the productivity and the quality.
Sure. That's
Both
important.
should be
That's
there.
an important point. Yes, productivity and quality are very crucial and important.
It's our very old system. Natural resource management, agriculture, nothing new for us. It's a very old.
It's a system we've been following for 10,000 years.
It's a cycle. It's a natural cycle given by the God.
You know, it's a system we've been following for 10,000 years.
Yes,
and
60 years we have destroyed it.
Yeah, last 60 years we've destroyed it. So why don't we go back to something that has been so successful? Yeah, you wanted to give an example. Yeah.
What Chaudhary was saying that in first year there is less yield. That's true. But the profit is more. I'll tell you how. From 1 acre, average farmer earn around 50,000 to 1 lakh of rupees. If you do the ecological farming, which farmers are doing, near Delhi they are doing, they take 9 to 11 crops in a year. If you go only for rice and wheat cycle, then it's a complete loss. 9 to 11, so their profit is 5 to 11 lakhs per acre. It's a very big thing. What they are earning, 50,000 to 1 lakh. What they are earning by ecological farming or organic farming, 5 lakhs to 11 lakhs. And if farmers, they start doing if they are into value added products, small processing units, like instead of wheat you sell dalia. And I have seen farmers there, instead of giving sugarcane to the mills, they are making vinegar out of it, sirka, which give them very huge price. Similar thing is with haldi, turmeric. Now there is an international demand for organic turmeric, and I have been to a field where they've got the international order of around 2,000 kg. And the only thing they require is that it should not contain any iron content in it, and also dust free. So the way they are doing it, which is a traditional form in which we used to do in India, there is no iron, there is no dust. So that haldi is going to Europe rather than to our market.
Indeed.
In complete northeast,
Yeah,
Ginger is there.
You know, Yatish hasn't made a point. I'm going to come to you, Krishan. Let him come. Let him see what he has to say. You know, but my question too is the fact that should this change really come from individual farmers, and should it happen at a micro level, or can we see it happening at a macro level?
So it is a two-way process, because the momentum has to be created through policy. The government, state government, they have to work in tandem to create this policy which encourages this kind of farming. It encourages the farmer to move away from grains. They have to move away from wheat and rice, particularly in Punjab and Western UP, where they have depleted water resources. You know, the areas have become completely dark because the groundwater has been depleted. This has to come from policy, and the farmer then has to be educated and taught that how do you change your cropping patterns, move away from grains, and how your earning will grow up if you start doing multiple crops over a year rather than focusing only on two crops, which are rice and wheat. So this is it's not a step that can be, it's not a singular step. It has multiple parts to it, and there are multiple variables also. The government is at one end and all the farmer at the other end. So
even consumer is
the consumer also has to be, you know, interestingly, the food, we have this regulatory body called Food Safety Authority of India. They have been insisting that on imported packaged food, this is the kind of metrics we need for, in terms of presence of pesticides or this thing and others. If they would apply the same metrics in India,
Yes.
half the packaged food will fail. And why it will fail is because our agriculture production is done in a manner that more fertilizer and more pesticides are being used on a continuous way. So, I mean, somebody has to break down and, you know, rethink these systems and try to build a policy-based system that can encourage this kind of farming.
There is one very good step which is taken by government, that is PGA system of certification of organic farming, and many farmers are part of that group now. And there is National Organic Center at Ghaziabad, and they are doing a very good job in training farmers. And I have seen a whole batch of BSc agriculture student coming to that center and farmers field for training. So change is happening, but the issue was about the subsidy of fertilizer. If you link this with organic farming, then it will yield some results. Otherwise, you are just giving the money, farmer is getting it, but what about the ecology, environment, and the sustainability of food security and everything? That issue needs to be addressed now. It's already, we are too late. When I started writing, at that time the ppm we used to discuss of CO2 level in atmosphere is 280 ppm. And it was, means I used to write that when it will touch 300 or 350, it will create havoc. Now it's 400 ppm. And in just 15 years, this has happened. So
Sure.
I think it's time to think in a policy. We need a major shift, and agriculture is a state subject, but state has to be involved in this policy making and everything. And it's very important to change the whole subsidy scenario and everything.
Indeed. Subsidy scenario needs to be changed. I've got time for final comments from all my guests, starting with you, Krishan Chaudhary. You know, as far as the way forward is concerned, what is the way forward? How do we look at this problem?
Every farmer should get the support from government side to increase the fertilization by the compost and green manuring by any means. Not only, it should not be reserved, this money should not be reserved. You can call the support or you can call the subsidy. It should not be up to the only chemical fertilization. It's not the good for future. It should be given to every farmer who is doing organic farming. He should also get the support. And there are two things. One point I raised about the pesticide residue and excessive chemicals in our agriculture products. It's not the subject now. But reality is this, that in Odisha, farmers are not using chemical fertilization. In Bihar, there is very small quantity they are using. In Chhattisgarh, in Jharkhand, in Uttarakhand, they are not using chemical fertilization. We cannot blame to all the farmers. Yes, I agree that groundwater level had damaged in the underground water had damaged in the Punjab. It's the excessive use of chemical fertilization, and the complete responsible if we, then it's our system. our scientists, our policymakers.
Sure.
It should be changed. Every farmer should get this money as a supportive price to increase the productivity. Yes, when you will give support price to every farmer.
Sure, fair enough. Yatish, Rajawat, is it time now that we looked beyond or saw beyond the chemical fertilizers that is being used in our soils and in our farms?
Yeah, I mean, we need to look at agriculture as a system that operates, should operate in the benefit of the farmer. He is the producer, and if it does not yield the right returns for him, we will see a large percentage of population, going under. Instead of calling it fertilizer subsidy or anything of that sort, we should start calling it productivity subsidy. It should be given to farmers.
Productivity and quality subsidy.
Productivity and quality subsidy, and it should be given on the basis of the fact that on how much land is he using and how much productivity has he been able to achieve or is promising to achieve over the next year. It could be given upfront, or it could be given at the end of the year, or at the middle of the year, or at the time that he's starting his crop pattern seeds. So he should also be advised on how he should change his cropping pattern so that he introduces crops that can add to the fertility of the soil instead of focusing only just on fertilizer to increase it. That's a more organic way of doing it. Yeah.
Sure, indeed. Anurag Sharma, close the show for us with your concluding remarks.
See, what Yatish ji and Chaudhary ji is saying, I agree with them. But see, the mind change, behavioral change in political system is required. Why? We are only focusing on the productivity. If production increases, income increases. Then why with the increase of production farmers' suicides are increasing? Because input cost is more. If you want to reduce the input cost, you have to change the farming system. And that is a need of this hour. And I think our thought should be to come towards ecological farming. We should encourage ecological farming rather than encouraging these chemical fertilizers. That's the only way out for us.
Sure, fair enough. On that note, we'll have to call it a wrap on this edition of The Big Picture. Yatish, Rajawat, Chaudhary and Anurag Sharma. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining me on the program and putting things into perspective for us. That's all the time we have. See you again next time.